Hey guys, it's Yada and welcome back to another tutorial. Today we're going to be learning how to draw boys. So grab your pencil and let's get into it. So a very fundamental step of drawing is starting off with the guideline, which will be lightly sketched. Lightly draw a circle and then lightly draw a line going down the middle of that circle vertically, and then towards the bottom of the circle you want to make a horizontal line that is ever so lightly or ever so slightly curved. And after those first steps, I'm going to go on the side of each circle and I'm going to be sketching out the jaw. Okay, so quick fun anatomy fact. Males tend to have stronger, broader, sharper facial structures, whereas females tend to have a little bit of a softer appearance or feature. So if you're aiming to draw a male, which is what we're doing today, you're going to want to aim to make sharper, more like broader facial features. And if you're aiming to draw a female, you're going to make a little bit like rounder, softer features. And I will add some photo references so that it can make a little bit more sense. And as you see, when I drew my neck, I made sure to make it wider since it is a male, and I made it a little bit closer to the edges of the jawline. And then here I am drawing the ears, making sure that it lines up and using my guidelines to help me sketch it. Okay, so now for the eyes, I'm making sure to make an equal distance on each side of our line of symmetry. And then I'm pretty much just sketching all the features and making sure that they're proportioned correctly. Basically what I'm doing here is I'm going in the inner corners and I'm lightly drawing two lines going down to help me indicate where I'm going to put my nose. And for my mouth, I'm going to go towards the center of our eye placement, and then I'm going to lightly sketch an oval for where I'm going to put my mouth. So pretty much what we're just doing here is just making sure everything is placed properly so everything can pretty much come together when we draw in our features. So for your eyebrows, you're just going to go into the corner of the eye placement and draw a diagonal line. And then to create your arch, go towards the outer part of your eye placement, draw a line down, and then that's where you're gonna draw your arch. Now when I'm drawing my boys, I like to make sure that their eyebrows are a bit thicker and bushier. When I'm drawing men, I also like to make sure that the eyes are a little bit more of like a slimmer, almondy type. It depends on which eye shape you're trying to draw, but for the general aspect of things, that's how I like to do it. And then you can see here how I fill in the brows and how I leave those hairs at the front of the brows. And then I'm just like filling them in and digging them up and making them like a little bit bushy. For the nose, we are going to start with, I think it's the tip of the nose bridge. I think that's what you call it. And I'm just sketching my nostrils on each side. Now, when I first did this in this first clip, I kind of messed up. So I ended up erasing the tip and I ended up making it a little bit wider. But yeah, you're going to take that nostril and you're going to elongate it towards the guideline. And now I'm sketching the shape of my nose, but I'm gonna kind of be careful and not go over my guideline, because then the nose is either gonna be too big and it's kind of gonna throw off my proportions. And then now I'm just adding details into the nose, like the folds, you know, anatomy stuff, just to add realism to this piece. Okay, so for the mouth, first we're going to split that oval in half horizontally, and then you're going to sketch your inner corners of your mouth, inside the lip, and then you're going to work on your cupid's bow, your top lip, and then your bottom lip. Okay, so now that we got all the features sketched out, we're going to go in and erase all of the guidelines, all of the unnecessary things that help to reach, well, I guess then it's necessary. But yeah, all the necessary things that aided in us reaching this far with our proportions and our features. And I'm just gonna add details to my features and go over them and, darken them a little bit. And then I'm going to finally shape my jaw and my neck. And then after that, add details to my ears. Okay, so I completely forgot that I was not filming that part and I still had it zoomed in on the face, but I basically sketched out the overall shape of the top of my head, and I'm just basically going over it and erasing that leftover guideline part in preparation of drawing the hairstyle. Now this part, I'm just adding details with the features and sketching in my irises and doing a little bit of shading and adding more definition to the jaw, all that extra stuff. So we're going to do a low cut on this specific portrait, and how I'm going to do it basically is I'm going to use my eyebrows, the arches of my eyebrows, and then draw a line up to show where my hairline or the corners of the hairline, I don't know what you boys call it, but I'm going to use that to basically help me sculpt out the hairline and then kind of curve it in towards the outer parts of the head. And then I'm going to just shade and blend, and at the end add individual hairs and kind of make like a fade towards the sides of this hairstyle. But before we do that, I forgot to mention that I forgot to add details to the neck. So right here I'm just sketching out the Adam's apple. So now that we're done with our hairstyle, just more blending of the upper lip, and I'm going to add hair to our top lip, create our mustache. And then in a second here, you can kind of see as we go down to the corner of the mouth, I do change directions of how the hair is falling, if that makes sense, to add more definition and character. Now for the beard is going to be not that full, just a little bit on the bottom of the chin, and I'm going to curl it up a little bit. Now I'm just going to be blending my mustache a little bit as well as my beard, and I'm going to erase towards the lining of my lip. Here I'm just adding definition towards the corners of the mouth. Now just more shading of the corners of my bottom lip, and then more blending. And then for stylistic reasons, I always erase that little middle part of the top lip, and then you're gonna blend. Okay, so I went in and then I added highlight, thinking that the video was done, and then I realized that the picture looked a little bit too flat, so I went ahead and then I started blending to add more pigment and shadows along the lower parts of the nose, the jawline, corners of the eyes, the forehead, and all of those other places to bring the picture more to life. And then after this step pretty much completes this tutorial, and I just want to say thank you so much for watching this tutorial. Thank you so much. Leave a comment, subscribe if you're not already, and I just love you guys so much. Thank you. Bye.